Recorded and broadcast and/or rebroadcast at WestfordCAT. We have the pleasure of Assistant Town Manager, Mr. Morissette, and Town Planner, Mr. Jenowitz, with us. We should have our consultant, Dylan Sussman, as well. Start, as always, with open forum. Mr. Jenowitz.
A couple things, Mr. Chair. On March 26th from 6 to 8 at Stony Brook School, we're going to have the rescheduled open house style meeting for the Route 40 corridor study. Again, that's over at Stony Brook School, so an open house style meeting that you don't have to, stay the whole time during the 6 to 8 time frame. You're more than welcome to, but it's designed in such a way where you're able to participate, not to be sacrificing 2 hours. Then additionally, on Saturday, March 28th, starting at 9 a.m., we have an annual town meeting. The 22 warrant articles, all the information is on the town website, but it's over at Westford Academy starting at 9 a.m. The check-in starting at 8 a.m. That's it.
And sorry, Mr. Chair, I believe the League of Women Voters sort of preview of town meeting is that, is that where you're?
No.
Okay. Is this Thursday evening. It is online, I believe, only?
Zoom only, yes.
Zoom only. Is that starting at 7 o'clock p.m.? So if you want to follow a preview of town meeting.
Link to register is both on the town website and on the League's website.
Great. Board, everybody, everything?
Nope.
And audience?
Hi, so I'm Lynn Cohen, 16 Fletcher Road. I am here on behalf of the League of Women Voters. I'm here to remind you of the emails we've sent you over the past year about asking you to please make your meetings hybrid so people can participate in them actually remotely. We've asked you now, I think at least 3 times. Jeff has been keeping us up to date. They're not being scheduled. It was scheduled in one meeting and then it was taken off the agenda. We have not heard since when it will be scheduled again. We would like to know when that's going to be as soon as possible. I think tonight's agenda, in which you're talking about the projects on Powers Road and at the Regency, are examples of why you need to have remote participation. These are projects that people in town are very concerned about, really want to know about, and have very strong opinions about. And we think people should have the right to be able to participate from home as well. So I think, and the weather tonight is so awful also. I think it's another reason why you should have remote participation. So I thank you, and I hope we hear from you soon to have this item on your agenda.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Rich?
The reason the item was taken off the agenda, just so that you know, was because I wasn't able to attend that one and I wanted to participate in the discussion. So that was at my request. I apologize for the delay in that.
Good. Anybody else? Seeing none, we're going to jump quickly to our general business items. So first we have PB 2534, 400 Littleton Road, review draft decision. Told by staff that I think the final copy we have is the final copy.
Yep. Mr. Chair, we did have, as the board requested, we did prepare some draft decisions for consideration. We took a crack at some of the special condition at the end. You did cite some concerns about some of the large corporate events and maybe some special measures that could be taken into account. So we took a stab at it. We did share with the applicant. They had very minor comments that we were agreeable to. They were not substantive in nature. I don't know if the applicant is willing to state if they're satisfied with this, and then if the board has any questions about any of the decisions, we'd be happy to hear.
Bob, your questions, concerns on the decision?
No.
Joni?
I just have one. On page 5 of 8 of the decision, paragraph 10, encourage alternative methods of transporting people through public transportation, carpools, etc. The applicant stated that the applicant is evaluating options for walking trails from Route 2A, 119 in Littleton, and from the Neshoba ski area. I thought we had also discussed that there was some type of dirt road that comes off of 2A that may be able to be utilized at some point.
I thought that was in there, Joni.
Did you see it somewhere else?
Yeah.
I didn't see
Well,
it.
that's, if I may, site-specific, and it depends which decision you're in. There's the site plan and the special permit decision.
Right.
They both reference the southerly bus entrance off of Littleton Road and/or the westerly
Oh, did I miss it?
paved entrance primarily located on the applicant's property in the town of Littleton.
Okay, so sorry, I apologize. That was there then. I picked it up here, so, okay.
Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Dylan?
I'm good, thank you.
Darren?
No. The only comment I had was that if you scroll down on the draft, it has the red sentence at the end of that one paragraph, saying something about the site where the existing, right there, not too,
Are we moving the special permit that's already?
right. So I just want to make sure that's consistent with what we're talking about, so.
So that was, and I think the applicant can speak to this, so they wanted to be very clear about what was being modified or not from the prior approval. So they didn't want to take away, I mean, it's clear the arcade may not be happening there, but they wanted to make sure that whatever existing improvements are there or were to be there that don't relate to the nature of these changes, that we weren't taking that away. And if they do any other uses, they know they have to come back to this board for further review.
Okay, right. Good. I'm all set.
All right, so still open public hearing?
The hearing's closed. This is just review of the draft decisions.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the decision as written?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And an A&R for 3539.
Mr. Chair, just to be clear, that was for all three
All
decisions?
three decisions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
PB 35 and 39 Town Farm Road, PB 2606, lot line adjustment between 35 and 39 Town Farm Road. You want to speak to this, Mr. Borset or Mr. Janowitz?
Sure. This is follow-through from the Zoning Board of Appeals comprehensive permit decision for 35 Town Farm Road. As you know, it's a proposed affordable housing project that the town has supported. One of the conditions of approval is a lot line adjustment between 35 and 39 Town Farm Road, 39 being the fire station. So this A&R or this lot line adjustment is consistent with the zoning board's approval. It does satisfy the requirements for A&R endorsement and zoning relief, which you normally don't pay attention to as part of an A&R. Just as an aside, the zoning board did grant all kinds of variance relief to make this happen without having any defects on the property, so.
Any questions, Bob?
No.
Joni?
No.
Dylan?
No.
Darren?
No, the fire station's still there, right? Just
Yes.
realigned.
Yep.
Good. All set.
All right, can I get a motion to approve PB 2606, 35 and 39 Town Farm Road, A&R?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask one other procedural question there for Town Farm Road? We had
Yep.
asked for a fee waiver. We had submitted the check for payment, but where it's a town project, generally the fee is waived. So could the board take action on a request for a fee waiver for the A&R?
I'll go to the board. Bob, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's
I mean,
it's in
it's
keeping with
the
our
plan.
past practice.
I know you don't have an issue with the fee waiver.
No.
All right, can I get a motion to waive the fee for the PB 2606, 35, 39 Town Farm Road?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, moving on to our first public hearing, PB 2536, definitive subdivision, 37 Powers Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Melissa Robbins from Farrell and Robbins. Also with me is Brian Goudreau from Hancock Associates. We continued the last meeting. We were just waiting for revised plans to be completed by Hancock. They have submitted those. We have revised engineering comments, so everything is 100% completed to engineering satisfaction. We've complied with all of their standards. So we would request that the planning board take action on this definitive subdivision this evening. Just for clarification, for anybody in the audience today that may have not been part of the earlier process, this definitive subdivision is part of a two-part process to freeze zoning. This definitive subdivision is not intended to be construction and is for that purpose only.
Okay, great. Any comment from staff?
No, sir.
No, Mr. Chair.
Bob, any thoughts?
No, I'm just for freezing zoning, I've been amazed at the amount of documentation that had to be completed. So,
Joni?
that's
No,
about it.
nothing. Thank you.
Dylan?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Darren?
All set, thanks.
Is this still open?
The hearing is still open.
A motion to close the public hearing?
Before you do that, should we just see if there's anyone here?
Absolutely, my fault. Anybody in the audience want to speak to 37 Powers Road? I apologize for not asking that first.
Janelle Delmar, 2 Abbott Mill Lane, new address. I'm sorry for being confused. but is this for the 5-story apartment buildings? What is this for?
So as Attorney Robbins said, that they need to freeze zoning in that area to, if they ended up wanting to put a 5-lot subdivision in there. 5 lots?
This one, yes, 2.
2 lots,
Um,
that they could do so in the future.
So
Okay.
if I may, this does not relate exactly to the multifamily housing development. This is basically a paper exercise to filing a subdivision and securing approval as a way to protect the subject property from changes in zoning for a period of so many years, perhaps 8 years.
Okay,
So they're not proposing any.
there's no multifamily project in the works here?
There is one already approved, but this application follows that approval. So this is simply an exercise to freeze their current zoning rights.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And we might explain that some of the other properties, Denali, froze the zoning before they have come here with a proposal for multifamily housing. This one came in after.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else from the audience? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to direct staff to write the
Draft decision?
draft decision.
So moved.
We need a motion for that, do we?
No, not really. But we can just take, we'll provide them at next available meeting, and I'm sure the applicant will, if we need the extra time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of record, we will grant any time for an extension. The staff needs to draft the decisions.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure we're done. I moved it. We don't have a second. We didn't take a vote.
He said we don't have to.
Well, I don't know, I wasn't sure if I heard a second.
That's
Needs
right.
a second. All right, so we can take a vote. Moves and second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. 70 PB 2601 79 Powers Road, Neshoba Valley Ski Area.
Mr. Chair, just by way of an update, we did ask for a continuance for that matter this evening. We do have updated engineering comments. Land Tech Consultants is working on those revisions right now. So we just asked to go to your April 6th meeting so that we can address those.
Move that we continue PB 2601 to the April 6th meeting, 7 PM here, meeting room 201 town.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, PB 2602 219 Littleton Road. This has been continued since our March 2nd hearing.
Give everybody a second to get in, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you stated, we are here tonight for a continuation for 219 Littleton Road. Here with me tonight is Elizabeth Gajo. She is from Redgate. She is the applicant. David Boyce is here with me tonight. Amy cannot be here. Bridget is also here from Arrow Street. Katie Cruz is here from Hancock Associates. She's the civil engineer on the project. And Sean Sanger is the landscape architect, and he's also with us this evening. I see that your consultant is also here, Dylan Sussman. Thank you for coming from Dodson and Flinker. Since the last meeting, Mr. Chair, we have received peer review letters from Ty and Bond and TEC. We do intend to respond to those in writing and would like to address those at your April 6th meeting, but not this evening. And that will give your consultants also an opportunity to review our responses and have a discussion at the next meeting. But we do continue to work through issues that were raised by the planning board and by Dodson and Flinker. We're going to go through some of those tonight, many of which are related to the open space, the blocks and street waivers, and also the architectural waivers related to articulation, as well as some additional renderings that the board had asked for. Those are also included in your packet this evening. Since the last meeting, we've also met with your Affordable Housing Trust. We're continuing that discussion. We're actually going to have another work group this week, and then we will meet with the Affordable Housing Trust again, either right prior to or right after your next planning board meeting. We've also met with the Conservation Commission on multiple occasions. So a couple of those changes I would like to run through this evening if the board would allow, and Joe would just go down. So I'm going to run through some of these, and then I'm going to turn over to the landscape architect to go through a couple of the details. But these are the major changes requested from the Conservation Commission. Can you just go down a little bit more, Joe? Thank you. So the big one, I think, for the board probably is that the commission has asked that we remove that walking path behind Building B. The reason for that is the proximity to the wetland area. Yes, there's already pavement there. Yes, this is a redevelopment site, but they're very concerned about that wetland in that area, especially for creep into that area, later creep, either by mowing or children playing or people walking around that resource area. And they didn't think that we had the ability to protect it like we did behind Building A. So we've agreed to remove the trail behind Building B. As to Building A, we have agreed to keep that trail behind Building A. We think it's a great trail, but we will be doing a mix of split rail fences, some landscaping, some grading, and in a minute I'll turn over to my landscape architect so you can just get a little bit more detail of what we're doing behind Building A to satisfy Conservation Commission's concerns in there about creep into the resource areas. Their other major issue was the garage location. As you can see, that garage right there. The wetland line's not shown on here, but that's also in that setback area that they were concerned about, especially the corner edge, so we've moved that. And Joe, if you flip to the next slide, it actually shows it. Thank you. So now you can see this is the revised conservation changes. It removes the walkway behind Building B. It does keep the decks, which you'll see in a minute in the cut sheet. And it also keeps the fire access trail behind the decks so that the fire department can safely and adequately pull their hoses behind there should they need to. The garage that was right above the wetland that's close to Cornerstone Square has been adjusted all the way up. That's the one that says number 3 on it. And the other one has been moved to the westerly side of the site so you can see that other number 3, which is on the other side of the pickleball court. What is the next slide? Is the next slide the cut sheet? Sean, do you want to speak to these quickly? Well, I won't go into these in depth because I know that they're regarding the resource areas, but I just think it was important for you to see some of the landscaping and design that was important to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, so let's see, so this will be behind Building A. As Melissa mentioned, they're not too worried with the proximity of the path, but we are, as that sketch shows it, looking at introducing a 2-foot wide mow strip, essentially adjacent to the wellness path. And then we will transition that into what I'll call kind of a no-mow in areas that are being kind of erosion control reestablished to get down to the kind of the edge of that disturbance. It's pretty much where the edge of pavement is today. We are working to get, as Melissa mentioned, a split rail fence in some locations, and then likewise still trying to keep this fairly open visually and introducing some larger shrubs once again, as Melissa mentioned. So we're having continuing conversations. We will be meeting with them again next Wednesday. So we are continuing to talk about kind of the edge and the definition of that edge. As Melissa mentioned, really trying to be careful and sensitive to that. It appears that the wetland behind Building B and its proximity or natural flow with the vernal pool that's off-site seems to be really important for them. So they're definitely giving the Building B kind of edge treatment a different look than they are with Building A. And then here's really just a slide side by side of the area on the back side of Building B. And once again, as Melissa mentioned, we are keeping the decks. Those are raised decks. We will be introducing essentially a railing around those, so they'll be contained. We will not be allowing gas grills out there. It'll really be an outdoor space. Yeah, thank you, that's even better. With the railing around there. And then we are, as Melissa mentioned, really trying to get from a more natural no-mow condition that you're seeing in the vegetated slope and wetland area to more of a fire access kind of it'll be lawn. We didn't want to introduce stone dust, which would make it look like a path, which was just not going to work with conservation. So this will be more of a stabilized, reinforced lawn condition so that it's able to be taken care of and cleaned in the winter, but it will be stabilized so it's more than just a lawn condition, if you will, to be able to provide the access as Melissa mentioned. So this gives them an idea, and they seem to be pretty comfortable with this approach at our last meeting.
And really, that's an overview of where we are with conservation. We will be continuing discussions with them. They obviously just got stormwater as well, so we'll be going through the stormwater report with them at the next Wednesday as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah, to you, Melissa, and the town staff. I understand, no problem with what they're gonna do with Building A and that picket fence, et cetera. But what about the wetlands to the west? Are they gonna do something similar with that in terms of protecting those wetlands from that path? And will the path be constructed similarly adjacent to those wetlands?
So, I don't know if I can answer that, Bob. I can tell you what we've heard to date, and obviously we'll be back in front of them again here on Wednesday. So I don't know if it was more of we're focusing on B and we've had conversations about A, but we haven't heard a lot from them, to be honest, on the westernmost edge. So I can't say that that's not an issue, but we haven't heard specifically from them with a different type of treatment. They've definitely been very focused on B as a primary concern, and we're working through some of those issues on Building A, but I think we're getting close with that.
And at the first Conservation Commission meeting that Sean actually wasn't at, we did talk about the westerly side quite a bit, but mostly in signage. Conservation Commission has some pretty typical signage in Westford that talks about the wetlands, talks about staying out of it. It has a Westford insignia on there. But we've also agreed to have some sort of educational areas over there with some signs, some outlooks. So when we actually get to go out on site, because it's been so much snow, we've not been able to, I think that will be some of the questions we'll talk about, Bob, to see what they want over there, what areas they may want some split rail fence. Some of it's pretty dense vegetation, so it doesn't lend to people creeping in there so easily. But to your point, some of those areas that are more open, or there could be some sort of animal trail that somebody might want to go into, that might be a great place for some more split rail. So we'll look at that a little bit more depth once we can actually get out there with the
I made a note, I want to track what conservation does to ensure that the signage
Sure.
between them or us does get included in the orders and conditions.
Yes.
I would also like to ask the applicant if they would be willing to kind of put up in the lobbies of both buildings a little display about the importance of these wetlands to keep people educated, especially visitors. But-
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I can add to that
Sure.
a little, Melissa. Yeah, so Bob, definitely as a part of our outdoor amenities and the conversations with Concom, we're looking definitely at 2 locations behind each building, kind of where it would be the most logical place for people to kind of arrive to those, to give more than kind of the stay out type of a sign, but it's more about here's the plant material, here's the importance of wetlands, this is kind of the groundwater recharge, the biological,
What your role
ecological,
as an abutter person is.
what it can do. And then likewise, here are animals, and just kind of, and the flora as well. So really kind of, it's an interpretive side, but at the same time, to your point, very educational to kind of tell the story of what these are, because a lot of people probably don't understand them.
And the last thing I'd like to make sure that between us we do is ensure that anybody signing a lease does sign a form that acknowledges their responsibility with respect to this, and not, just in case the signs could come down in the wintertime, want to make sure that everybody, when they sign a lease, acknowledges that they're agreeing not to trespass into those wetlands and damage them. So. That's it. Looks good.
Great. And then just really quickly, so we've talked about the wellness path before, so what you're seeing there in orange is really the revised layout as we don't creep behind Building B anymore. So we've got the continuous loop. We've got about a half a mile loop on that, so we feel comfortable we can make this really work, and it'll be welcoming and open.
And just that I can now piggyback on that and kind of move on, we just wanted to talk about the open space a little bit more, especially since we have Dylan here this evening, and with the loss of that trail behind Building B, which I know the planning board liked, we started examining like other spots on the site that we could really get open space and looking at the site as a whole. And when we started looking at the site, we realized on the westerly portion of the site, and I think if you go to the next slide, it actually shows it, Joe. There's a large area of upland on the westerly portion of the site. So this right now shows 113 That is because I can't stand for it to follow the wetland line, so there's no zigzag line here. This is a perfect, angle down to another angle. So there are some resource areas on there. If you look at the conservation line, it does zig and zag down, just if you're wondering, I needed it to be a straight line. So we're showing 113 here. Of that 113, 78,400 is dry upland area of that. And we do have the Vine Brook that runs down between our site where it says wetland and our roadway and the edge of this yellowed area. So that's why we're kind of keeping off the side of our road to stay away from that. We do have some resource areas in the back. Even if you respect the entire 200 square feet of the riverfront area and stay out of the no-build wetland resource area, it still leaves you with almost 40,000 square feet of constructed area out there. So it's actually quite a sizable area. So when I was looking at it, trying to figure out what we could do, and looking at the 110 master plan and the pedestrian plan, I thought this would be a perfect piece, maybe not for our private use, but for public use, for the town of Westford public use. If you look at the master plan as it stands right now, this area in town is actually identified as something that's deficient in the neighborhood recreation facility. There's not a ton of facilities out here that has a playground that's not affiliated with a school. You have to go to Parker Village, you can go to Stony Brook School, you can go to Nabnasset, there's lots of playgrounds, but there's not a lot of playgrounds along 110. Actually, there's not a lot of publicly owned area along 110. And that's the way they identified it. The master plan says this area could benefit from a non-school related playground. This doesn't need to be a playground though. I'm sure the town could look at it and study it and see what would be great for this site. I know that as part of the pedestrian master plan, as part of our trail system, something that's lacking is parking. This certainly has enough area that it could be parking and a little playground, but the town could look at it and build it what suits its needs. And the developer would grant the rights for the town to develop it in any way it wishes. I think this would be directly accessible by the sidewalk, and Joe, if you go down to the next slide, we've overlaid the 110 master plan. So this is actually from the 110, this is the 25% tip plan showing the trail plan along 110. So this would be 100% accessible by the pedestrian trails. The green is the multimodal trail, and the yellow is the sidewalk trail, the sidewalk, I guess it's not a trail, along 110. So this would be 100% accessible. I think that right now the plan is for this to be built out for 2029. So obviously, whatever the town wants to do out there, is that correct, 2029?
That's when it says starting.
Starting 2029, right. So whatever the town would want to do out in there on that site could go along with that time frame. Once constructed along Boston Road, they could access all the way basically from the town of Chelmsford town line, from the sidewalk, or from the Westford Town Center down the new multimodal trail that's now coming down Boston Road, and come all the way to this site for whatever the town wants the purpose to be. Redgate is going to build actually a portion of that sidewalk from Cornerstone, where it says proposed LRTA bus stop, all the way to the project entrance. So this portion would already be constructed before the 2029 TIP plan. It would be the rest of the portion that would be picked up as part of that plan. Once that's done though, you could access the site. I think this could be a site of pedestrian or bike activity. If you take a closer look on site now we talked a lot about that barn, which is labeled as number 3 here, and how we could tie it in. And I think we were showing it as bike storage, and we weren't really sure how to tie in that existing use. Looking back at it and looking at a greater public purpose, what we think that we could do is actually use the portion that's right now an apartment for a guest house. So the people that have a parent or a friend that wants to stay overnight, that's a resident here, could actually have somebody stay overnight in that building in the part that's already an apartment. In the garage, we're really trying to reimagine that as more of a public space. And to Dylan's point at the last meeting, we had bike storage, but what about people that don't have bikes? We may not have enough out here that we would get a blue bike or any other of those public organizations, but again, to Dylan's point, we can do private bikes. So looking at that a little bit more, we think that's exactly what we'd do out here. We'd have a private bike share for our residents, we'd also have bike storage, but we'd also like to invite the public in the space. I mean, really the historic building is being preserved for the public. So the way that we can get the public in, we think, is to add a water station within the structure so that you can come fill your water bottle if you're driving by with your bicycle, but even more, have a bike repair area with some tools. You see them along some of the more sophisticated trails now. So that if you're going to ride your bike out here, if you're out here with the bike with the kids and you need to put a little air with the tire or fix a chain, everything would be in that structure. It'd be a nice place to pull aside and get some shade. The other plan is to increase the decks a bit and put some rocking chairs out there, more in historical nature with the building, so that people could actually sit and have some passive activity out there. So really pulling this into the public use. And then in addition to that, the orange trail is highlighted here, and I think that it's important because this trail is also proposed to be open to the public. So this is not just a private trail. So when people come down to this area of town now, they can go to whatever the public amenity space is going to be, and then they can come into our site, they can go into the historic building if they want to, and then they can go around the trail. In addition to the trail use, Redgate's going to agree to open all of their amenities along the trail. So the pickleball court, the dog park, all of those areas will be open to the public. That's an amazing amenity that's not available now at all in the town of Westford, especially the dog park part. I know we've had a lot of discussion about that. So the dog park, the exercise facility, the pickleball court, everything along these trails, the passive fitness areas will all be open to the public. So I really think this is tying this into showing this is an amazing public amenity on the site, some of which will be created by Redgate and some of which will be directed by the town of Westford per their wishes on that area on the outdoor amenities site. I say this, I just want to go into the public purposes here and the public intent because I think it's important to this board. I know when the board wants to look at waivers, they want to make sure that they're making good decisions for the public. So I want to make sure that you understand independently why this site is so excellent, what redevelopment can do, and what public amenities can come out of it. I think I've talked a lot about the open space, and I know that we have to talk about waivers tonight, but before we talk about the waivers quickly, I just want to say that these are design waivers. Redgate is not asking for any special permits here whatsoever. I think it was important to give you a base plan. The base plan is included in your package today. We do not want to proceed with the base plan, but the base plan is in there so you can get an idea of what the project site would look like should we comply with the general standards of the MCMOD bylaw. Obviously, some of the site amenities that we've discussed, the historical building, the trail, and other things are eliminated from the plan, but that's just to show you what it would look like if we 100% conformed to the regulations, so then the board can make a decision on whether or not the design waivers are something that they like, and then grant them that way. So with that, I think what
While we're talking about that, let me get Dylan's thought of the proof plan, if you had a chance to take a look at it.
What number is that?
Sure.
We can jump down to it. Keep going. Keep going. There it is.
Yeah, so I looked at the as-of-right plan. To me, it looks like it largely complies with the zoning. I measured the dimensions of various things that are required by the zoning, like front setbacks and block lengths and the sidewalks and the buffers between the sidewalks and the streets, and they all comply with the zoning. A few concerns I would have with it, which I think are not major concerns and not too different from the proposed plan. So it doesn't appear to show adequate outdoor amenity space. But that approach of outdoor amenity space off to the bottom left of the plan, presumably they would propose under this as well, and would address it that way. Some of the parking lots on the edges of the plan, basically I think would be considered blocks from the perspective of the zoning, and therefore would need to have streets with sidewalks and buffered sidewalks with tree belts around them. So that might be something they could accommodate in this plan if they were to move forward with it. But generally, the streets are more in line with what's required by the zoning. The blocks comply with the zoning. And yeah, overall, it seems like a reasonable plan that's in compliance with what the zoning is asking for.
Anyway, I think we've discussed many times, the site is a little difficult anyway to deal with the weather.
Yeah.
Anybody with the board have any questions or thoughts on the approved plan?
I just have one question on the proof plan. I noticed, obviously, that you can't fit the historic house, but aren't you using part of the historic house for the sewage treatment?
Yes, we would just
So-
accommodate it in a
Is that-
separate structure.
You didn't, yeah, because it
Yeah.
doesn't here, so you
Yeah.
just have to put it somewhere, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a fully designed
Yeah,
plan.
no,
This is
no,
a- Right,
absolutely.
yes,
Right.
but we could accommodate it. It would just be an alternative structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it, thank you.
Well,
I was a little confused by the comment number 6, blocks prioritize parking over people, and then the calculation of 6% more asphalt. Because it kind of seemed to me that if we were going for the block concept, we would probably have to have slightly smaller buildings, which would result in fewer residences, which would result in fewer parking spaces, and yet this has more asphalt, so I'd like to have an explanation on that.
Yeah.
Well, just quickly though, so this has the same, I should have started with that the concept plan still maintains the 300 units, but now I will let David speak to the 6% reduction in pavement.
Well, let's first talk about the unit count. So if you notice in our plan that each building has 150 units, but they're different sizes.
Yep.
That's because building A is prioritizing larger units. In this particular option, both buildings would be a little bit more similar in their unit mix, going to smaller units, which tends to lead to a little bit more transient residents. It doesn't give enough choice for people to stay in the project long term. But you can fit 150 units in these footprints. In terms of the percentage of asphalt, it's kind of simple math, really. A head-end parking space is 9 by 18 because maneuvering is fairly simple. A parallel space, we've got them at 9 by 22. So right there's a pretty significant increase in paving for each one of those spaces. So that's not, that's more than 6% for the parking, but the number of parallel spaces we have that we've transitioned in this particular scheme and the number of additional roads that we have, our plan, we're really trying to prioritize getting to the main entrance, and then, obviously maintaining the existing historic trees, maintaining the historic house, and having as efficient parking in smaller groups as possible.
So really, it's the parallel parking spaces that drive the increase in the pavement.
And I do, okay, I understand that. I want to understand, though, prioritizing over people, and what does that mean?
Well, I think from our site design, we are trying to get more accessibility, more trails, more sidewalks into the areas, not focusing on the blocks and the streets with the parallel parking spaces, but more accessibility into the spaces. And David can speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the best wording, to be honest with you. I think that the blocks and streets really we're trying to do the same thing. You're trying to prioritize people in the blocks and streets with the smaller blocks. We're trying to prioritize people through the use of the walk-up units, through the use of connections through the building, through the use of the organizing the buildings in ways to maximize the views.
And I think as we talked about last time, I personally think that by prioritizing the parallel parking spaces, we are doing better with safety issues and with maintaining better access on the roadway paths. Because as we talked last time, I'm concerned about these 22, 24-foot long large pickup trucks extending into the driveway. Parallel parking, for the most part, minimizes or eliminates that ability. If they can't fit in the parking space, they can't fit. But if they pull in, head in, we've seen this at Cornerstone quite a bit. They just extend out into the roadway, and that's a concern I have. So I think we need to think about how you put those words about prioritizing parking over people, because I think at the same time, we may be prioritizing parking, but we're also prioritizing safety for people.
Yeah, again, I
Yeah.
apologize for those words. I don't think that was a good choice of words in that particular case.
Okay.
And Bob, to your point, for the next meeting, we will have a plan identifying some of the parking areas to satisfy your concerns about the.
And there is one other negative to the parallel parking, which is at number 7. We would need an active exit at that point, because we couldn't ask people to park in that zone and do a U-turn in that small area. So once you park in, the only way out, you'd have to head out of the site from that zone.
Right.
And we've blocked that in our current plan.
Understood.
All right. Any questions for the group plan?
Not on the group plan, no.
Darren? Nope. All right. Is there a question on the proof plan?
I have a bunch of questions. Denali Delmar, former chair of the planning board many years ago. and resident of Abbott Mill. So from my experience at Abbott Mill, I have some comments to make to you. I'm sorry if this is not exactly the right time, but I'm here. Elevators.
Okay, you know what, we'll certainly give you time. We're trying to do an organized list through certain. You'll have plenty of time. I'll ask for the audience participation towards the end of this presentation.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I don't know if you want to start a little further up. We've tried to put the waivers in the blocks, streets, and then architecture
Before you
categories.
go on there, though.
Oh, yeah, stay on the,
Just-
yeah.
Also, we need to have number 5 fixed. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah,
what
there's a
you're
typo.
requiring.
There's
I don't
an
know
A-
what's being said there.
It's a hanging and. So, yes, we'll make sure we revise the language there.
Okay.
Yes, number 5.
So as I said, building A in this case, it's going to be more of the same kind of mix as building B, whereas we have a lot more diversity in the housing type in what we're showing in our current plan.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It was just
The
the way it
wording
was
is off.
written. It was
Yes, it's a
missing
typo.
something.
Yeah, yes, agreed. Yeah, we'll make sure to revise that language.
Okay, yeah, so why don't we continue on with waivers?
Okay, so go back up one more. I think that we start where? Yeah, because it's above the architecture, all the way up, Joe, to the next, the first divide sheet, and then I'll go ahead and do
Okay.
there.
You know, just going back to this one, I think, you know, our goal here really was to reinforce that connection along Littleton Road. And that, you know, we see that as our major street, and then we've got the main entry. We can go to the next slide and just talk a little bit about, you know, from the very beginning, we've been talking about trying to create different types of housing. Larger units, recognizing that we want to attract, you know, there are people that are going to want to downsize from their current house, but they're not going to want to go into something quite, you know, micro units or something really small. There are people that are trying to move to Westford until they can afford to buy a house, and they need certain space requirements. The idea of having walk-up units that, you know, basically you've got your driveway in the front, you can park right in front, your parking space will be designated to your unit. We felt that that would be really appealing in this area. Plus, the you know, in reinforcing your MICMOD concepts of having active streets, getting doors on the street as opposed to an internally facing residential building was very important to us. Additionally, if you go to the next slide, so you can see the walk-ups on the lower level, traditional but bigger units on the middle levels, and then on the upper level we have the loft style units, again giving the sense of volume to these units, a different type of unit that you don't see everywhere, with some additional space, maybe a home office upstairs, but that bigger building really has a lot of those different characteristics in it. Just looking, you know, again, we've repeated this a bunch of times, but there are really kind of 4 things that drove the planning of this site. One is obviously the extents of the developed area, not wanting to go beyond those extents. The wetlands, not just respecting them, but trying to take advantage of them as an on-site amenity, realizing that people that are going to live here, giving them views of that, organizing the buildings around it to make it a feature of the site. Those large groves of trees, making sure that we can find ways to save those. They're pretty significant trees, mature trees. My friend Sean here would not talk to us if we decided to get rid of them. And then, you know, as this board and others have asked, keeping that historic house. Those were kind of 4 defining principles when we worked on this plan. And again, this is a lot of repeating that, but you can see this plan, some of the key elements here are these smaller parking lots, more dispersed. If we were to go back to slide 22, you'd see a whole bunch of different entry points into the buildings to allow people, not just the people that live on the ground floor, but people that are parking in different areas to get into side doors. You can see the corridors extend to the perimeter as opposed to a lot of buildings. Those corridors kind of get tucked away and that gets sold as leasable area. We thought it was very important to have daylight in our corridors as well as those access points. The big white space in the middle, the white space is the amenity space. It's a through building space, which is important for a couple reasons. Again, we want amenity space that has the opportunity to look at the wetlands. It also provides a through connection halfway through that block to get you to those trails if you choose to. You can keep going. Again, we've talked about this. I think it's important to note that in order to fit the 150 unit building A, it gets significantly closer to Littleton Road. And, you know, without having the sort of buffer of the historic house in front. The important kind of comparison here is you can see how much closer building A is to the roadway. And then you can also see the building B is almost exactly that size. We did bend it a little bit more because we feel like opening that leg of the building up and allowing people to really focus on the wetlands and not focus on your neighbors across in a, you know, sort of a parallel leg configuration was a better experience for those residents. Similarly, that's how we organize building A. If you look at what we would need to do to get to the 150 units, that where that number 3 is kind of a tight little courtyard and not the most, you know, the best experience for the residents.
Yeah, I would say too, that courtyard orientation, if, you know, obviously we would play with this, but you really are more of a north facing, a little bit obviously to the west, just based on kind of the way those buildings are kind of laying out, which is, it's a little more challenging, to be honest, to get into a kind of a pool space. We all know New England, those summers aren't as long as we'd like, and so anyway, just that comes into play as well to kind of think through that.
Yeah, we did, when we did start this planning, we did do sun studies to make sure we put the pool in the right area, which is something we do all the time. This is a current view of the entry drive. It's important because it shows sort of the trees on the left-hand side. Obviously we can't get trees on the right where we've got the septic system, but we have built the stone wall to kind of continue that that motif across the site. You can see how the buildings are connected, yet they feel like a series of smaller buildings by the breaks in the roof forms.
Yeah, I looked at this, it looks nice, but I'm confused about where that perspective is from, looking where and which is A and which is B.
A is right there. You're literally on the entry drive on the sidewalk, and if we go to the next one, you're on the entry drive in the car. And so the main entrance to the building is right at the end of that entry drive. And we had talked about this at some previous meetings about sort of making sure people understood where to go.
So the historic home would be on the right, but not in view.
Correct. We did actually try to get that in view. It was very difficult to get it in view and get the renderings to make sense.
Yeah, and then you guys have seen this before. This was the same kind of, once again, orientation of the stoops, really kind of getting into a little more detail on showing the elevated aspect of those. And then likewise with those dimensional offsets, we feel like we've got room to comfortably get street trees in there that will actually perform and grow with the root zone and the soils. And likewise, we've got space in there, we feel, to get some height of the plant material to the backside, closer to the stoops, once again, so that we can get a little bit more of the kind of the headlight protection and separation within those green spaces. But we've seen these, this is very similar to what we saw 2 weeks ago.
So there are 2 waivers here that we wanted to talk about. One is sort of the requirement, it's the requirement to have a break every 30 feet. We've done that where we can and as much as we can, but we've tried to vary things up a little bit so that it didn't get too repetitive and monotonous. We also recognize that as we're designing these buildings, in some areas, having a little bit more simple facade is better from an energy perspective. It's just less facade area exposed to the elements, tighter buildings, and as we're designing these buildings and trying to make them as energy efficient and as high performance as possible, that's one of the things that we look at. The other, is a very minor one, but we wanted to point it out. Some of the, I forget exactly how the language is written, but it basically says the windows at the top floor shouldn't be taller than the windows below. Our windows up here are just a little bit taller than the windows below. It's really because of the dormers, because of the height that we have on those floors. And because we don't like just showing elevations, we wanted to just kind of put you back. Those buildings that you were just looking at are this side of the building. So you can see our elevations are broken up into a lot of pieces because we don't have a lot of the long continuous walls.
And Bob, to your earlier question, building B would be kind of the cream color and the white off to the right.
So, this confused me because when I checked what was slide 122 in our packet, which kind of showed the site layout, it looked like there was quite a few more trees down by the historic house and barn that would be limiting the view up that chute towards building A. And yet in that graphic you just showed us, I only see trees on the left. And so it makes building A much more visible in that perspective. And I'm just trying to align this with
Yeah,
that.
that's because we're past those trees.
Yeah,
And
I
this-
think that picture, sorry, David, is really more about where that crosswalk is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did that on purpose. We tried the other, I mean, we wanted to show you what the experience is gonna be. It's very difficult to get trees. We got trees beyond the septic system and in that area, but we wanted.
I guess, and I'm actually asking because I think it makes your case better by taking a perspective from Littleton Road. And I think there's much more limiting of the view shed up in that chute. And I appreciate that, because my concern really for Building A is the view coming from Littleton Road south of Building B, because you're shooting at an angle. I think that's where the building's going to be most visible. And I think Building B is kind of in your face on Littleton Road, where Building A is really screened from that main driveway chute.
I do think we have that rendering at the back part of the presentation, so we can show you that.
Yeah. And I say that only because, in terms of prioritizing the maturity of the growth, I'd like to see the focus be on that view shed from Littleton Road. And I'm willing to, accept smaller trees in the site, but just kind of, that's what I think people are most concerned about in the town, is how much this is in your face when you're coming down Littleton Road.
And we have been trying to save trees in and around the historic house as well.
Right. So,
Can I
We're concerned about the view of Building B. I thought we saw that view the last time the applicant was before us.
and
I thought
I
there was comment on the-
I agree,
Yeah.
but looking up to Building A, that's part of what could be screened a little better and make the site appear smaller in stature than,
We do have that view. I don't think you see Building A very much,
Yeah.
just because of
where it is.
the short leg of B, the trees, and the historic house. Those are all screens to the bigger building behind.
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you just scroll maybe up just a little bit, you can see that little key plan in the upper right. The other piece, Bob, to your point, is right behind that row of trees that we would have on the left side of the entry drive. That woodland edge or that wetland edge comes right up to the backside of that stone wall, and we're not touching that at all. So that whole green edge right there does a lot of what you're describing, and then we're really trying to give that reinforced, kind of that separation, transition, if you will, to a cleaner, kind of more structured, but having those kind of really get blurry right there at the entry drive. That it's a wild side, and then you've got as I said, the more kind of cleaner, reinforced, new street trees that you're seeing those in the perspectives.
Yeah, and I focused on this because, from my perspective, this makes it easier for me to agree to, waiving some of these dimensional elevation standards.
Yeah, I think,
If they're not-
yeah, and for you guys, on page 17 of the presentation, and Bob, this might clarify too. If you go to number 4, it says Building A is 328 feet away from Littleton Road. The wing parallel to Littleton Road is screened by the entry tree belt, and the remainder of the building is, it doesn't say visible, but it should say visible from the road. It's left out.
It's, yeah, it should say not visible from the road.
Yeah, not visible. So that might help clarify that too.
Can I ask another question?
Of course you can.
Kind of off the subject, but more a question for Dylan. The elevation, the maximum building height is, I thought in our bylaw it was 50 feet, and right now, that's only to the midpoint of the roof, so didn't know what your thought was on conformance with, or if a waiver would be needed for that.
Yes, that's what I was just looking up in your bylaw
Yeah.
at the moment. I think the bylaw is not particularly clear about how you define the bottom of the roof. So their roof right now is asymmetrical, so they're measuring from the bottom of the longer roof on the sort of the longer gable there. So if you measure from that perspective, I think it hits the midpoint of the roof. If you measure on the other side of the building where you have the shorter gable, then
Which is
not so much.
the backside
Yeah.
of the, up against the flat roof.
Yeah. So I think that given that the bylaw is unclear, I think that what they're doing is probably
Okay,
reasonable.
good. Thank you.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of these waivers before. Why don't we start with the board's thought. The first one here, roofs, section 6 roofs, F.4 waiver is required because the dormer window and slope of the roof locations are slightly taller. And I think we can lump a lot of these in together to discussion. Dimensional standards, length of the buildings without an articulation. I mean, we've learned that it's more efficient that way to build these things energy-wise. Why don't we get the board's thought on those two first, Bob?
Nothing more than I've already said. I mean, I understand. I would prefer to see a traditional dormer style, but I understand.
So without obviously voting on anything here, we're trying to give them direction. Would this something you'd be acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay. Joni?
Yeah, I'm fine with the windows, and fine with the energy issue, for the dimensional standards.
Okay. Dylan?
I am as well. Neither of those is a problem for me.
Darren?
Yeah, likewise, I think if you look at the view of it, it's broken up enough that it's not just one giant straight wall, so I think that achieves what we're looking for. The windows are fine.
All right. And so, next we have, let's see.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I think you kind of gave your opinion.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Waivers requested because the architectural feature is not provided on the back facades of the building to distinguish the roof from the building's uppermost story where the flat roofs occur. Again, I think really, in my opinion, the only viewer of this is going to be 495.
Right.
Although, I mean, I don't necessarily like the way that looks with that, no articulation and just the flat roof there.
And, yeah, I think if you go to the next slide, so these are the existing conditions. I do want to point out that the winter, at the time that this was taken by Google, there was a tree there, and then the next summer, or whatever summer, somehow that tree disappeared. Not sure how or why, but it is no longer there. So our renderings show the summer condition on both, that missing tree on both. But if you
go to the next, there you go.
So the one thing that we are still studying and looking at is, potentially some additional screening at that roof. But this is representative of where the building is and some of the breaks in the building.
And likewise from just the visibility, there really is this one, I'll call it kind of a little slot, if you will. The rest of it is a pretty strong existing buffered edge along the 495 site.
And how tall are the garages gonna be? We haven't seen a rendering, I don't think, of a garage.
The garages, Bridget?
They're one story, 12 feet, 10 feet.
Yeah, they're
Range.
single slope roof, again, not very steep, but a little bit of a slope, and they're not very tall.
Bob, what are your thoughts on this waiver?
I'm fine. The only question I had was the existing perspectives you showed us. Winter had a barren tree that didn't exist in the summer view. I was just trying to figure that, I was confused.
Yeah, we were too, and then we just looked at it and realized that at some point somebody took that tree down.
Okay. I'm fine with that, and I think the other thing that comes with this is that the sign for the building gets removed. So, yeah, I'm fine with this. I have no objection on this.
Joni?
My only thought is if we could maybe get screening, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of HVAC units.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just in certain areas.
Just
where
in
it
certain
would be
areas. I don't think
visible,
you'll
yeah.
see most of them, but
Right.
yes.
Okay, yeah, then I'd be fine.
And the only comment I would add is that because you have that gap, there is going to be more sound coming towards your residents. I mean, that's something you can explain to them. You know, the view is fine.
So-
Trees help
I will
block
say,
that sound.
routinely, in all of our projects, we do an extra layer of drywall on the exterior wall to increase the sound isolation. And also, we use a high-performance window that actually has, it clamps shut and has either double or triple glazed, depending on what we need, and they're very high-performing in sound.
Yeah.
It's important that the residents feel comfortable in their home.
And Joni, with the, we did a sidewalk, I think it was back in November, it was late last fall, but where we do have these openings, we have reintroduced evergreens within there. So that's already started. We could definitely look at it to make sure it's dense enough, but that definitely, we've looked at what's out there with existing trees along those edges and certainly supplementing those as we can. But we can certainly, you know, obviously make sure we get that done right.
Super, thank you.
Dylan, do you have any comment?
I don't have a concern with the view from 495 at the back of the building and the roof width.
Yeah?
No, given that 495 is the abutter, I would just agree if you can get screening in there would be beneficial.
Dylan? Any thoughts on our discussion?
Yeah, no, I agree that it makes not as important as some other situations. And I think that one distinction I want to make between this plan and the other plan that may come through here in the future is that in this situation, because there's so little space between the building and the wetlands, that people walking along the back of the building aren't going to get a big, long view of this building, right? They're going to be looking up at it, and so the articulation of
Great
the
point.
roof is not going to be as important as it would be in a situation where you have more space between the back of the building and somewhere else on the site where somebody could see it.
All right, thank you. Attorney Robbins, anything else we'd like to discuss at this point before we bring it to the audience?
I think we just need to have a discussion on the blocks. I think you've discussed the architecture, but not the blocks.
Okay. Bob, thoughts on the blocks? I thought we covered that last week, but maybe we didn't.
Mr. Chair, are we also giving the applicant feedback on the changes that they've proposed?
The, what's that?
Like the changes to the plan that they've proposed?
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
All right, Bob, why don't we first talk about blocks?
No more than we've already discussed. I think there's going to be some modification to some of the language here about, you know, the blocks and how they prioritize the different styles of parking versus people and access around the site. But I don't have anything more than we've already discussed here tonight.
Okay, Joni,
Yeah, nothing more than we've already talked about.
any thoughts on blocks?
No thoughts on blocks, thank you.
No additional comments.
I think I'm good as it is. So as for the changes that were proposed tonight, Bob, any additional thoughts or comments?
One thing we haven't touched on, I just want to make sure it's on the record, we'll discuss this in the future. I did ask about this with Jeff, and we're kind of waiting guidance from the school department regarding how to size the bus stop. There was something in the packet that discussed
It's the last.
the need for that sizing, And I just kind of made a note that we kind of have to pay attention right now to groups of students, and right now those groupings are K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. There might be some modifications coming here. I know there's some school studies going on, and they might adjust some of the grades, but somehow we do need to, in the future, discuss school bus access, whether it's going to be in the location right now that's proposed right near that emergency entrance, or internal to the site.
So we did reach out to the school department and through their direction to their consultant. The applicant was kind enough to provide some exhibits that we could share with them, and we're trying to get their high-level preference and/or requirements for where they would prefer to have a bus stop be. Is it right along Littleton Road? Is it internal to the site? We did send that information to them late last week. They have not had a chance to look at it yet, but as soon as they provide input, we'll obviously share that with the applicant, our consultant, and obviously the board at the next available meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just so you could see it, we did include the slide, just the slide with the alternative location that we showed the school department as the last slide. So that pink dot would be it. So the bus could easily maneuver there, stop there, and then come directly out to the site. So we'll see what the school department and DDOT have to say.
Yeah, and I know we have the ability to collect some of the statistics from Bell of Westford. And I think we had heard earlier that with their 400 residences, there were approximately 99 students right now. I would recommend we obviously be a little more conservative and expand that number, but that works out to approximately 6 to 10 per grade. And that could help with the sizing of how these groups are. Now, it's also a struggle because some of these groups might overlap in terms of their pickup, so we'll wait for the school to provide that input. But I just want to make sure we did discuss that tonight because it was in the packet.
Yep, absolutely.
And can I ask also the transformer, did you do something with the transformer that was at the bus stop?
No.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
I mean, it will be screened,
yeah.
but as far as locations or shifting of that, no, it has not changed.
Anything else on what's been discussed so far?
Don't think so.
Dylan?
So, appreciating the Conservation Commission's concern with the wetlands, I do think that the loss of that walking trail sort of, it kind of breaks up like the site flow of like allowing people to kind of take this nature walk through the site. I think there is an impact there to real use of open space. And for sure, putting some information in building B especially about, and A, I suppose, about, why wetlands are important is great. I don't think you'll have to put a warning about use of the wetlands, because as a person in Westford with property that abuts wetlands from April until October, you won't be able to be out there unless you're covered in a hazardous amount of DEET. So you may want to consider full mosquito netting though on those back decks that you're planning, but that's for you guys to decide. So I want to make sure I understand the applicant. So you're proposing to make available to the town of Westford that parcel for future development, but you're not talking about investing in or participating in building that space out. Is that correct? Sorry, Attorney Robbins.
That's okay. I will follow if I go that way. That's correct. That piece could be used for whatever the town of Westford wants to use it for. I know that the master plan is out there, but I know that Dodson Flunker is also working on a pedestrian master plan. So we don't want to try to predict what could be used on that site, but I think that that would actually be a public amenity for the town of Westford, not a private amenity for the Redgate residents. So that's what's being proposed out there, is really to donate the use to the town of Westford for whatever they see fit.
Sure. So one thing I would say is the member of the board who sits on the Community Preservation Committee, where I could see this coming before that board as an application for use of CPC funding to do the build. One thing we can't invest in from there is the ongoing maintenance of said facilities. So it could be something, I would be more amenable to seeing that as a trade-off if the owners of the property were going to make a commitment to maintain whatever the town of Westford would invest in and build in that space as part of maintaining the overall site. Just one person's opinion, and understanding that we can use CPC funds to build, but we cannot use them to maintain. While we're talking about that, I love the ideas that you guys proposed, and thank you for hearing the comments about the more of a community bike situation. I personally am more than willing to waive the number of bicycle parking spots in addition for a deeper investment and commitment on the site to have bikes that are sort of free to use or can be borrowed or whatever. I think the idea of like a fix-it spot or two on the site is fantastic. I also think a lot of people don't know actually how to maintain their bikes. And so if there are going to be bikes on the site, one thing I'd love to see, Westford, as far as I know, and I just did a quick search, I don't believe there is a bike shop in town. So we've been spending a lot of time talking about bikes in this application. It'd be great if bikes were going to be maintained anyway on the site for sort of rental bikes, to once a month make known to the residents in the area and the town at large, hey, we're actually having a fix your own bike clinic. You can come down, learn how to use the tools, learn how to actually maintain your bike, because the town of Westford has nothing for people who want to actually maintain a bike. And my last comment on that is, if the town of Westford was going to look at this upland area in the, I guess that's the western part of the site as we're looking at the plan, why not, yes, have a playground area, but I would love to see a non-paved biking area. Doesn't have to be a BMX track, but something that, you know, younger kids or people who enjoy mountain biking or sort of off-road biking can take advantage of, because there's literally none of that in the town of Westford, really, for people to use as an amenity. And it could be really keeping with the theme of the overall like bike friendliness of this whole space that we have going. You can take a more casual bike ride on a paved area if you want to go around sort of the fitness area and the pickleball, but you can also take your kids and your bike kind of off trail a little bit. There's a playground for the kids and all that stuff. Could be really quite an exciting site for people to use. Those are my comments, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron?
No, good. I agree with Dylan.
One thing, Attorney Robbins, I might suggest a call to Recreation Department, see what their goals are, and if anything that they're looking to do would fit in that parcel.
Absolutely, yeah, and it, you know, after looking at that site, I was thinking playground or some of the other parks, but then when Redgate had opened up the offer to actually open those uses that are on their site to the public, like to Dylan's point, we could really think outside the box out here for some of the amenities, so I'll definitely do that.
Awesome.
I'll now open it up to the public. If you have a question, comment, please come up, state your name, and try to
Thank you
best
so
our
much,
answer.
Denali Delmar, 2 Abbott Mill Lane. I'd like to talk about parking. How many parking spaces are here?
I don't remember offhand.
480.
480.
So that's not accounting for 2 cars per unit. That might be a problem, since most families are two-car families.
But our standards was 1 point, in our bylaw? 1.5 is all they're required to provide.
Okay. I'm living in Abbott Mill, and there's parking underneath most of the buildings. If they put parking underneath these buildings, it would make the site a lot prettier and a lot less dangerous. Parallel parking is dangerous. Just, you know, look at what happens at Market Basket, at that community, that building area. There are lots of car accidents there. I looked at Bell. I looked at all the apartments in town before I chose where to live, and Bell especially is a vast wasteland of parking spaces. It's really ugly. So I'm pleased that the wetlands are being protected because they have to be, but they will also be attractive. But I would encourage you very strongly to look at parking underneath the building. That's much better. Elevators. 4 stories, 5 stories, it doesn't matter which. It's absolutely impossible for people with any kind of disability or any old person like me to get up to the 4th floor when the elevator breaks. And they break. It happened to my friend in Chelmsford. The elevator was broken for months, and she had to find someplace else to live. I think there needs to be 2 elevators.
Can I respond to that?
Sure, I mean, that's building code, it really isn't.
Yeah, we have 2 elevators per building.
Per building. Thank you. That's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that, because that's not the case with Bell or Princeton. So we should have that.
I would add that that was reviewed by the fire chief, fire department.
Okay. If you put parking underneath, you'd have more room for a playground for the kids that live there. And I think that that should be provided. Also, when I was on the planning board, we had a zoning bylaw that if there were more than a certain number of houses in a subdivision, there had to be 2 accesses. what is the case now?
So there is going to be an emergency access, there is going to be two access. There's going to be one on the bottom right corner, it will be
Okay.
gated, only to be used by emergency vehicles.
Only emergency vehicles?
Yep.
You know, that means that you have, what'd you say, 480 cars that are all lining up at that entrance. There will be a light there, I trust.
I'm sorry?
No, there won't be a traffic light?
No, that's
Um,
last thought, that we can't have any.
Well- That is going to be a big problem.
So we do have a traffic study, and so that will be
Good.
involved with this, so.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a big problem. It would be a concern that will be studied, and we will wait for the study to tell us if something has to be done.
Okay, yeah, because that's a lot of cars and a lot of traffic. Where I live, there are three accesses that are, or egress, that are always available, and that works well. All right, 10% affordable housing is what the state says. I was told that this committee has the power to ask for more than 10%. 10% is not adequate in town. Rents are just so high. So I would like to see if this board does have the power to increase the required number of affordable units. By all means do. Even affordable units are expensive for a lot of people, for seniors, for young people starting out. So I would like you to consider that. I think that for now, that's it.
Great.
But thank you very much. Thank you for all your work. I appreciate your dedicating so much of your lives to this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience? Questions, comments? Attorney Robbins, when would you like to come back?
We would like to come to the April 6th meeting. We will be in a position then to respond to traffic and time bond.
Okay, and if you give me a picture of the garage?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so is there a motion to continue this matter till April 6th, 7 PM in this room?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, our last public hearing, we have PB 2604, 35 West Street, West Prescott Street.
I'll move that we waive the public hearing notice.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Move that we open the public hearing for PB 2604.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is John Gallant. I'm from the law firm of Gallant and Irvin. I represent the applicant. I'm here with Jeff Brem from Meisner Brem. I'm the chief engineer for the project, and we'll leave it for Jeff for the discussion.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Jeff Brown from Meisner Brem Engineering, representing West Prescott Street LLC as owners and developers of 35 West Prescott Street. I'm going to outline for you what the project looks like as best I can in words, and then what we're proposing. We'll go through a proposed waiver letter, and it's our first public hearing, so we'll hopefully get some input from the abutters. So it's a 3.2 acre site. And let me start out also by saying, I think you're gonna find this a pretty simple project as projects goes. It's not really a lot of wetland impact, not a lot of stormwater problems. The problems we're gonna encompass are gonna be process problems, okay? That's what I'm anticipating. So you'll see as we go through some of the issues that we're gonna have with process, which makes it a little bit different, but also a little bit challenging. So it's a 3.2 acre project. The location's behind an existing house that was recently demolished at 35 West Prescott Street. It bounds on the B&M Railroad on the south end, which is on the north, on the top part of that plan. That plan is upside down. If you're looking north to south, it's really, south is facing up, north is down. And then eventually past the railroad is Forge Pond. The zoning is RB residential, which is the half of the normal, so it's 20,000 square feet, 100-foot frontage. The soils are awesome. They're Quonset soils, if you know about NRCS, Joan, and they're very highly permeable, sands and gravel. They've been tested by Jeff Hannaford from Norse Environmental throughout the site. The topography starts high at the West Prescott Street and drops down. Elevation 240 at West Prescott to 210 on the back of the site. That works out to an 8% existing grade. Now we get into process. There is an A&R plan forthcoming for the, what's shown on that plan is an A&R lot out in the front. Thank you. And that was where the process gets a little difficult, because this is it looks like a 5-lot subdivision, but in technical terms, it's really a 4-lot definitive subdivision plan with an A&R lot at the beginning. The new roadway, so we're just going to talk about the subdivision. I'll reference the A&R lot here and there. Violet Way is the proposed roadway. It's 412 feet long from the point of the intersection with the right-of-way in the front, along the roadway, and straight through to the end of the cul-de-sac. We're proposing a standard subdivision road, so a standard 22-foot width, standard cross-section, exclusive of the waivers, which we'll talk about at the end. The water will be by town municipal water, 8-inch water extension. Septic will be individual septics, and they are located on the plan in little rectangles. Brought my little handy-duty thing here. Oh, it doesn't work on this thing, does it? Oh, this one it does. Okay, so there you can see the septic system there, one there, one there, and one there. And they're just laid out right now. Utilities will be underground. So I said it's simple. What do I mean by simple? Most of the time we have problems with stormwater. In this case, because of the incredibly permeable soils, we are proposing really 3 catch basins. If you go back to that of the plan, the color plan. Yeah, we have 3 catch basins, 2 at the below point here, and then one other to catch it just above the low point. That is piped down to and discharged to an infiltration basin here on the westerly portion near the westerly lot line. Now it gets a little bit interesting because the town of Westford has a easement from a catch basin on the roadway, West Prescott Street. And they have a 15-inch pipe that discharges about there. Then they have a swale that takes it down to what they define, you keep going down further, and they define in the actual easement to a stormwater facility. This is from like many years ago. A stormwater facility here that we're not touching. We're leaving it as is. Now we are going to touch this easement though, because it's only a 3-foot wide easement. I don't know how you can maintain a 3-foot wide easement, but that's what it is. So we're increasing that to 20 feet along the edge, and then when we get back to these lots, it'll encompass, the easement will encompass the actual swale as well as our stormwater features. So there's a slight improvement to the town of Westford in that you're going to be able to have access to maintain that existing pipe. Stormwater flows, because it's such a sandy site, are very small. To give you an idea, using the new rates for discharge for rainfall, those rates being 3 inches for two-year storm and 7.5 inches for the 100-year storm, we have flows ranging from 0.01 pre-development, that's almost nothing, and then we're proposing 0.01, so no change, to the 100-year storm 4.03 CFS, and we're reducing that to 2.3 CFS through this recharge basin. So therefore, when we get to the standards, the stormwater standards, even though we are technically within the 4 to 9, we're within the limit what we do not have to do stormwater. We are meeting the 10 standards. The recharge volume, for example, is required for 1,643 cubic feet. We're providing 7 times that, or 11,777 cubic feet. The water quality volume, same 11,077, only required 2,759 cubic feet. That's 4 times the required water quality volume. Total suspended solids required 80%, we have 85%. And Westford, and we're also here for stormwater, as you read, Mr. Chair, the Westford pollutant removal requirement of 90% TSS and 60% of total phosphorus is being met with the 1 inch of impervious area. That works out to 2,758 cubic feet. We're providing 11,777, again, 4 times the requirement. Standards 5, 6, and 7 aren't applicable. Standard 8, we have an erosion control plan and stormwater pollution prevention plan was submitted. And standard 9, we have an O&M provided in our stormwater report. This is what they look like. If you're fun and really like to read them, I've told you this before, I break my stormwater volumes into 2 parts. Volume 1 is readable by anybody. And it explains the stormwater design in generic terms and in specific terms for this site, and provides all the tables and so forth. And volume 2 is the technical hydrograph printouts that you're welcome to look at it if you understand HydroCAT printouts. I'm almost done. Traffic, I wrote a narrative that goes with this submittal, and I'll just quickly go through some of those things. The traffic requirement is in there. We're providing trips of 48 vehicle trips per day, 4 a.m. peak and 5 p.m. peaks. Parking is required by your regulations of 2 spaces per unit, including the A&R, that would be 10 spaces. 20 spaces are provided. Basically 2 for each lot. I'm sorry, 4 for each lot. 2 in the parking and 2 out front. I'm sorry, 2 in the garage, indoor, and 2 out in front of the unit. The narrative talks about town services, social services, there's tabulations of lot area and coverage and so forth, all meeting the requirements. And environmental impact, I can go through it if you want. If you have any questions now or in the future, I can add to that, but I won't bore you with that now. Also, before I get into the waivers, there is a comment from your Conservation Commission. Basically, Forge Pond, which is on the extreme south, it's on the other side of the railroad tracks, is here. And if you use the town maps, some of the state mapping, you get right at 100 feet to where we're working, real close. Some maps are 96 feet, some maps are 100 feet. So Conservation asked us to do an RDA, and just like the previous applicant, because of the snow, we haven't done that, but Leah Basbanes is going to be out there this week, and we are going to go forward with an RDA as Conservation requested. We are going to be at the outer limits if we are in it at all. So, and it would just be this little bit of work back here. None of the stormwater would be in it. No flows are going towards Forge Pond without being treated first. This discharges overland from this proposed stormwater facility on overland into that historic hole in the ground facility. And so even though on the 1 year, 2 year storm, you're going to have no flow. Some of the larger storms will discharge from this basin into the ground, and the overflow is into the stormwater facility which currently exists. So like I said, stormwater is pretty easy on this site. And lastly, we have a waiver letter. I have it with me. Yep, dated February 4th, and I amended it on February 23rd. And there are 4 waivers. The first is we're proposing a sidewalk on 1 street only, as opposed to 2 streets. I don't think there's a sidewalk on West Prescott. Does not have a sidewalk, and I outlined that there will be a small savings associated with that as required by the regulations. And we're proposing that the sidewalk that we are putting in there be shoveled by the homeowners, so it won't require any town shoveling. Curbing, would like to go with that, it's a very small project. I'd like to go with that asphalt to concrete Cape Cod berm style instead of the vertical or slope granite curb. Savings is about 15,000 for the full 850 foot around the whole curve. And there really is, the maintenance for slope granite tends to create some growth in between the edge of the granite and the edge of the pavement. Some people use, I said in my report here, some people use Roundup or glyphosate. It doesn't really work out that well. Over time, it tends to look bad, whereas the Cape Cod berm is easier to maintain. It lets the plow right up on the curb and so forth. So that's our waiver request there. It's typical of many small streets like this. Drainage pipe, I think everybody asked for HDPE pipe instead of RCP, reinforced concrete pipe, mainly because the ease of installation. Cost is about the same, but it's just more modern, and I would suggest at some point that you revise the regulations and change that. And I think everybody would like that, so we don't have to keep asking for waivers. And lastly, the cul-de-sac requirement is a 70-foot outside curb radius, which is enormous and covers up a lot of ground. This is a reduced area because it's in the RB zone, small lots, half-acre lots. As you know, the turnaround is huge. We have proposed a smaller turnaround with a 55-foot, I think it's 55-foot outside, 57 outside curb. And I just passed out a sheet showing how your fire truck in town would easily make the curve around the proposed, there you go, thank you, proposed cul-de-sac. This is the same cul-de-sac as in Juniper Hill, so it's not an unusual cul-de-sac geometry. Those are the waivers and my supplemental template. And I'm here for questions, and we do expect this to be continued tonight, not necessarily approved in one night. So we did get a staff report, which I'm sure Jeff will read, and we'll follow it up. Just before I go, just the staff report is going to talk about the A&R lot, so let me just explain. The A&R lot here, we have an A&R plan that's basically ready to go. We wanted to see if there were any issues coming up, and there may be one that'll affect that A&R plan. So it's literally, it's not a Mylar form, but it's just about sitting on in my office, and very soon we will be submitting that, and it will be submitted and approved or endorsed prior to this plan being endorsed and approved. That's where the process issues come from, because it's a little bit odd to have a 4-lot subdivision that looks like a 5-lot subdivision. That's it. John, do you have anything?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick thoughts, and then we would probably like to rely on review by engineering department and other departments. So just as initially proposed, this layout may create a new zoning violation situation on that lot. So we think we just need to take a look at that with the applicant. Perhaps town council, it's a little early yet. That's one point we want to raise. The other is with the waiver being requested to the 70-foot outside curb radius down to 57 feet, I believe.
Yes.
Under the current select board policy, this subdivision would not be eligible for trash and recycling pickup along the street. It may be eligible at the end of the street along West Prescott Street. So if that is the case, you may need to put some allowances along West Prescott Street to allow for trash and recycling pickup there.
If you can on that, we did Anne Marie Drive. We put a little pad out there, concrete pad, and I would propose something like that here as well.
I just want to be upfront because it's, the other thing, a question for you in terms of the timing of the A&R lot. So do you intend conveying that lot to a different owner before you have subdivision approval?
No.
Okay, so then why would you not simply do a 5-lot subdivision?
It had to do with getting a building permit real soon, and
You've already,
which we've got now, I know. It's where it was starting to be an issue.
I mean, you're certainly free to file an A&R. I'm just thinking for simplicity and flexibility, until you're at the end, why, if you're not conveying it sooner, why do you need a separate?
I guess it all depends on how long this process goes. Nobody knows, so that, it's a timing issue. When we got it in our office, prior to all the snow coming, we were gonna get an A&R lot first, and then we ran into some other issues, not related to the subdivision whatsoever. And so we decided to do an A&R lot. It was all done pending some of the issues that you brought up in your letter regarding the neighbor and so forth. So that's how we just set it up, back in October, November, when we're starting this thing, that's all.
And if I may ask, at what point do you intend to revise plans? Because there were that lack of clarity. If you're planning on filing an A&R, then maybe there might be a difference in timing. It was just, our engineering department is looking forward to reviewing, but there is some lack of clarity in the current plan set.
Understood. So we will get the engineering plan, the issues that we're talking about are fairly easy to deal with, except for that one regarding the neighbor. So we're certainly within a week, so.
Okay, thank you.
And just so the board's clear, the abutter, Kravitz, by putting that roadway in now makes it, his two abutting roads, so it sets his setbacks will now change. And so now he'll become non-conforming.
Corner lot.
It actually is a little bit more complicated. You're right, Mr. Bonavant, but it's a little bit more complicated in that Butter has 13.7 feet, we think. I have to do some more work on that before I could state unequivocally, but it looks like they don't meet the current side yard setback as it is, so.
Okay. I will open it up to the audience. I will note we did get.
What about the board?
Oh, well, what about the board? My thought is there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, so let's go with you, Bob, first.
I don't even know where to begin. I want to first ask about existing conditions. So I just got back from travel this morning. I went out this afternoon to look at the site. And it appears to me the foundation for the A&R lot has been poured. It also appears to me that the initial start for Violet Way is already there. What am I saw a lot of what I would call destruction and decimation of the site. I'm personally, I see the cart coming before the horse. We haven't even run through a process here, and I see the site pretty massively changed. Just to build what is an A&R lot, and we haven't even discussed the subdivision, hadn't even opened up the hearing yet. As you come out of Forge Village from the market up the hill towards the ball field, there was a real traditional village feel. And I come to this spot, and I was shocked. I had not been by there in daylight hours, I guess, recently. I've been there at nighttime to go to Groton. And there is a process issue here. I'm just trying to understand how this happened. And I feel for the two abutting neighbors. I think we have to look out for everybody's concerns here. And this just goes against that whole village feel before we ever had a hearing.
So sometimes I have to be the bad guy. I will point out that we cannot take away anyone's existing development rights, and they pulled a building permit based on the existing undivided lot. So we can't, even if there was an application pending, we cannot hold that against them. And unless and until they disturb, the requisite amount of area to trigger a stormwater management permit, there's not necessarily anything that they're doing that is actionable on the part of the town at this point. We did, however, warn them that there is certainly some risk if they move forward and exercise the development right for the would-be A&R lot, which we haven't received yet, that could create some complications for them depending on how this public hearing process unfolds.
And along those lines, I would like to ask, does the town have an estimate on how much of the property has been disturbed as of now?
I do not.
I'd like to see that calculated, because that concerned me. I looked out there and I was shocked at what I saw. For what I thought, in the packet said they're doing one lot right now, that's fine. but it looks like Violet Way has started.
No.
Am I
first-
mistaken? What was there? I mean, why
so
does it look
what
like
was
that?
there before was a driveway. Where Violet Way is, and sorry for me not telling you, was a previous driveway which went all the way into the backland. And the backland had a lot of material, I don't know if you could see it there. Yeah, you could see the driveway sort of, driving right by there. You could see it right there. And then it continued, paved for a while, then it turned into dirt, and it went back. And you see all those little, there's farm utensils and other junk in the back. A lot of that has been removed as well. So all the materials have been removed as part of the sale.
So I think by the next meeting, before we have any further discussion, I want to understand how much has been disturbed at this point and whether there's a violation. So that's all.
Just so you know,
all I
Mr.
have.
Schaefer, we don't think so.
Okay.
It was supposed to be a half acre of disturbance, which is far less than the required 1 acre.
Okay.
Are you willing to provide an estimate?
Yeah,
We
we'll
could.
get you something.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bob?
Not at this time. I'm going to wait for engineering review and proceed at that time. I'm fine with the calculations, I should say, to Mr. Brem. I'm fine with the calculations, that's all well and good. My concerns have to be with how this is being squeezed in behind homes in what is a village-like setting. And maybe we can't do anything about it, but if that's the case, I think we need to look at our zoning and make sure we don't have this persisting in other places. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, like Bob?
Before he goes off on that, if I may, Mr. Chair and Joan, that's been, I don't know if you remember, but I've been advocating a 40-foot right-of-way for a long, long, long time. 40-foot right-of-way, well, you have a 50-foot, you have to clear 50 feet. And even though it's only 10 feet, that's where you change the look. When you have a 40-foot right-of-way and only clear 40 feet, it has more of the village feel. So you should, I've been saying this for many, many years, you should look at your subdivision regulations.
Yep.
And that's one area, there's no sewer in town. You know, so the 50-foot gets necessary when you have a lot of utilities. You don't have sewer, so 40-foot would be a better use, more of what you're looking for in the town of Westford. That's all.
And I think, unfortunately, the foundation's in. You know, maybe we could have had some waivers there to allow the house. I think if that house had been set similarly to the abutting houses, preserve that look, and if we could somehow have provided the lot 1, lot 2 to be moved up somehow, it wouldn't have had the impact on, I guess, what is that number, 37, that it appears to have right now.
Well, I'm going to keep talking, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know. There's
Well,
just-
one of the questions that Jeff had on his comments, and it's something that we've debated in my office, was whether we show the old house, there was an old house there, or not. And Jeff says, well, if it's already been removed from the site, why would you show it on your existing condition plan? This is exactly why. If you look at the plan that he has right up there now, that the house, the old house is right there.
Yeah.
So you can see we've gone a little bit further back from West Prescott, and the footprint isn't all that much bigger, it's a little longer instead of wider, but it's not a huge difference from the old house that was there. And if you look at the houses on each side, they're equivalent size to the proposed house.
I think I disagree. I think it's a big difference from the house that was there.
And I'm not, be
But I
honest
mean-
with you, I'm not concerned with the size. I'm looking at how it presents itself to West Prescott Street. So what I had the benefit of doing was, went on the town website to look at the property card and to remind myself what it used to look like compared to what I saw today when I did the drive-by. That's all I'm saying. And I do think it is a much larger footprint. I don't know what the square foot of a home compares, but the footprint does appear from the print here to be much larger, so.
Okay. All right. Like Bob, I drive by that all the time, so I assumed it was just a tear down and rebuild. I was kind of shocked when I saw this too, to be an actual subdivision. I do have certain questions. First of all, in your narrative, the table, it is page, it's 171 in the package, let's see. Page 5 of your narrative, You're talking about impervious cover impact, buildings, parking, but it has 0 on pavement. And with the street, I was a little confused why that was.
Buildings, pavement, other pavement would be 0.
Other paved, right.
Yeah.
Buildings, parking, but what about the street? Where's the street?
Yeah, where's the street? Okay, Joan?
Okay.
Let me look into that,
All
okay?
right, thank you. Thanks for answering about Forge Pond, because I was confused why Forge Pond was about 100 feet. So that's good to know that that's being looked at. Okay, the road, in your narrative, it says that the road will be constructed to full town standards, but there are some waivers that are being asked for, so I'm a little confused on, are we going with waivers? I mean, and is this going to be expected to be a town road? If so, I don't see how we can waive town standards.
Yeah, so I guess my response to that is that the cross-section of the road, pavement depths, gravel depths, requirements for stripping out the deleterious material, all that would be the town standards. So the road would be, that part of it would be built to the town standard, exclusive of the 2 waivers that we're requesting, or the 3 waivers, which was the drain pipe, the cul-de-sac, geometry, and the curbing.
Okay, so obviously we'll wait for engineering on that.
Mhm.
I do think, especially if this winter, I think they'll have some reluctance recommending acceptance as a public way, but that's ultimately not their decision.
What was the applicant, you didn't answer the question, is the applicant gonna seek street acceptance for this as a public way?
I think we intended to, but that's for discussion. We'll talk to engineering and so forth.
So, and
It's one of those small roads that nobody wants to maintain anyway, so I can understand from a town's perspective.
okay, and as far as the curbing, I mean, everybody's heard my opinion on curbing before, so I have yet to see anybody in the town come do any work on our granite curbing in our subdivision, so I don't think granite is really a big deal. So if, the town wants granite, I think the granite is good to stay with.
I think it
It
survives
survives,
plowing.
it does,
survives
because
plowing
berm
better
just
than Cape Cod
plows
Road.
right up, so. Anyway, let's see next. I think that was about it. So on one of the plans, I did see a radius of 70 foot, but you've requested a waiver for that, so not sure what.
If I may, the 70-foot radius, I believe, is to the right-of-way. Now, there's a requirement in the regs that it be to the outside curb radius. You'd normally have probably another 10 feet or so after that, but they're providing the 70-foot for the right-of-way, but not the physical curb.
Curbing, got it, okay, thanks. And last question, railroad. Are there any required setbacks or coordination with the railroad?
We haven't coordinated with them. I don't know of any additional setbacks. Jeff, do you?
Not aware of any,
You know,
either in or out.
we're proposing the building on lot 3 and 4 would be outside of the town setbacks, but I don't think they have any special setbacks for railroads.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure, so thought I would ask the question. And I'll be interested to see what happens with this A&R lot, because that's an issue, obviously.
Dylan?
I think Joni and Bob covered it well. I think in general, it's gonna be hard to look past all of the waivers that are requested on the street if the intention here is to have this be a public way. I'll look forward to the engineering report, as well as the A&R submission.
Yeah, likewise, I guess my question, on the A&R lot, is that driveway coming off West Prescott Street, or is that coming off of Violet?
Great question. I told you the process was going to be the sticky issue in this whole thing. It's going temporarily while they're building it to come off where it exists now, which is Violet Way.
Okay.
And ultimately, you don't see the building plan, but the garage is facing Violet Way as well, and it'll come off Violet Way.
I would just say too, on the curbing, depending on how integral that is to the drainage with the catch basins and everything, that would be a concern because it gets plowed up pretty quickly and that could ruin or affect the drainage, so. Just,
Especially with the proximity to Fort Pond.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to reserve till we get this new set of plans and our people look at it. I would like to acknowledge that we did get a letter today from Andrew and Alyssa McDuff, and I'll also open it up to the audience. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please come to the microphone and let us know. Please note that, again, there will be additional hearings on this. So,
Do you want my name again?
that's okay.
Is this residential B? Is that why the lots are small? Thank you. I would like to respectfully ask the applicant to reconsider the name of the road. Westford has been enthusiastic about having historic names, and Ellen Swallow, who lived from 1842 to 1911, she lived in Westford, went to Westford Academy. She was the first woman admitted to MIT. And so I think calling it Ellen Swallow Way would be a wonderful memory of her and elevating her accomplishment very, very much. So I'd like to say that. The only other comment I have is the HDEP pipe that they're talking about, does that contain PFAS? Because PFAS is such a difficult thing to deal with.
I can't speak to that for sure, but we'll certainly ask that of our engineering department, but I do know it is common in the industry to be using that pipe.
I know it's commonly used, but I think we need to think about if that's another source of PFAS. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Good evening, Jenny Kravitz, 31 West Prescott. The house that you just talked about is being right next to this road, proposed road. We've been in our home for about 15 years, and it's been interesting to watch all of this happen. I don't know a lot about regulations and things like that. I trust the judgment of everyone here. I just want to share that one of the things that I'm thinking about is how close that road is supposed to be to my home, and what that does, not only to just kind of, understanding traffic with my kids, things like that, but also in terms of what that will do for like runoff, right, snow melt, things like that. The other thing that I just want to mention is, Mr. Shaver, to your point, one of the reasons that we love living where we do is because of the mature trees. And one of the biggest impacts that we've seen in the development that's happened so far on that front lot is the disappearance of so many of those mature trees. And so as we continue to talk about this, that's one of the things that I am curious about in terms of understanding that with the loss of so many trees near the road, there are an extensive amount of mature trees back throughout the rest of the lot, and just wondering what the plan is for those in terms of, again, the look and the feel of Forge Village. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allie Sweeney. I live at 47 West Prescott, and I really appreciate you guys bringing those points because I feel the same way. I received the letter and then weeks later saw a foundation board, so I too have a concern about that. But I do have a couple of questions. One, do we know, are the dwellings going to be single family, multifamily, condos? Is that not?
These are all proposed as single family.
Okay. And then with the sidewalk proposal, would that extend to all of West Prescott because neither side had a sidewalk?
No,
just
so they're
that
only in
area?
their subdivision that they're requesting.
Okay.
Or required.
Okay, so it would just be that, it wouldn't extend. And also with the recycling trash concerns, if they didn't have a separate spot, 5 dwellings having in a single spot also next to your house with multiple trash cans, I think would be a concern. If that could possibly be somewhere else, I think aesthetically that would just look better. Someone
who puts their trash out there and it's already I think lot 3 would have a very long time if they had to bring all of their trash out. As someone who does that, that's triple what I have to do. And I am concerned about the aesthetics. I've lived here for 13 years. It definitely has a great feel to it. So I am very concerned about the quickness of it without the information. So,
Understand.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Todd Chestnut, 27 West Prescott. Are there any renderings of the houses?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are there any renderings of the actual structures?
No, and we wouldn't actually have much say in that.
Oh, no, I'm just wondering if there are.
There is on the first one, I've seen it, it's at the town hall, obviously, because they had to give a building permit for it.
But you have no idea yet of the other 4 houses?
Correct.
So how do we know what's going in?
As the chair said, this is a definitive subdivision plan, so aesthetics, it's different than the previous application, which you saw that had a lot of architectural, that's because it was a site plan.
Oh, no, sure, no, that I understand. I guess when I look at this and I kind of see what's going on, or not what's going on, but what is sort of happening now, what concerns me is we're sitting here today and I'm looking at 5 residential houses zoned R2. I personally don't know the ins and outs of changing that as this process goes on. And what concerns me, especially about Lot 4, is that is not the greatest piece of property in the world. And my concern is, I assume you're not going to be building all 5 houses at the same time. I would assume 1 at a time.
I don't, first of all, just so you know, I'm engineer, lawyer, we're not the builders.
Okay, but I guess my concern is, I don't want to see somebody start to hit hard times as this starts to go in, and then the petition comes to make Lot 4 a 2-family, a 3-unit, because the numbers just don't work anymore, and we're really stuck here.
It's not zoned for that, and it would be under our approval to be, what we would have is a building envelope.
Sure.
Right? We'll say where the road can go.
Yeah.
It'll be an envelope which says how many feet off the road or the lot lines the house can go.
Yeah.
And it's gonna dictate the size of the house, and the
Mhm.
septic's gonna dictate to how many bedrooms.
But I guess my question is, that Lot 4, single-family home.
And our subdivision, we're gonna, if this gets approved as is, yeah, it's not gonna be a multi-family house.
It could, there is always the potential for an accessory dwelling unit as well, with any principal dwelling unit. So it's possible to have essentially an in-law.
In-law.
But it's basically single-family dwelling. There's nothing here that allows, under our zoning as a right, that would allow multifamily housing.
And just multifamily, is a multifamily, is a duplex a multifamily?
A duplex would be considered, in most cases, a multifamily. That's not allowed as a right. If half of the duplex could qualify as an accessory dwelling, it is possible you could have a principal and accessory dwelling. Possible.
So it's a maybe.
Well, it's true in all.
I understand, I guess.
Massachusetts just changed the law, so all lots, all residential lots in Massachusetts can have a single family and an accessory dwelling unit. All lots.
Okay.
Your lot as well. So that's what Jeff was getting at.
Okay.
The square footage is limited on the ADU.
Okay. And then also, just because we live next door, in fairness to the one they're building now, what they demolished and what was behind there, when you drive by, and you know, being in a butter and knowing John, there was twice as much in, around, and behind that house than just driving by.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, it's shocking to see it all gone, but minus some of those trees, there was twice as much back there than you could have. There was machines back there you didn't know was there. And just to get at them, like, I saw them stopping multiple times. You'd hear them pulling brush, and then you would hear steel on steel, and then another machine would come out. Like, yeah, they just didn't tear everything out. They demolished what was there, and there was so much equipment and stuff. Unless you've lived there, you've no concept of what was back there. And so, yeah, they definitely stopped at a certain point, and it was, I know what's on the pictures. there's the house, a shed, 2 or 3 garages, and multiple pieces of heavy equipment that have all been overgrown over the last 50 years. So you're either taking it all out or you're not. And that's, as of right now, that's all right there. So, that's all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question.
Sure, come right back up, please.
I'm not knowledgeable about this, but perhaps is the A&R versus the 4 lots instead of the, it seems like simpler version of 5, perhaps because the one on the road will be nice and the plan for the other 4 in the subdivision would be different? Is the intention for all 5 to be equally the same level, or are you doing the A&R lot perhaps because that one will be the nicer one and then the ones back away from street level are gonna be designed differently?
I can assure you that's not the case. They're all going to be
Okay.
the same. The lot 3, I think it's lot 3, that's the footprint. It can't really grow much side to side from that, because you can see it's right up against the setback lines. It can go a little bit deeper, but even then, not much. So that will be probably a custom house,
Okay,
because it's restricted in size.
but the intention is for them to probably be equal, or is the one in front gonna be pretty and the one?
No, they're all going to be
Okay,
quote pretty.
just
yes.
checking. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Brim, how much time do you need?
Well, Jeff and I talked about May 4th.
May 4th?
By then, all of these procedural issues will have been hopefully resolved. We'll have drainage analysis done by engineering, hopefully maybe even back and forth a little bit. And like I said, not that I want you guys to belabor anything, but I think the rest of it's gonna be fairly simple, and then we'll discuss the waivers and the status of the road, whether it's gonna be public or private, and that'll be on May 4th.
Great.
While that's gonna happen, may I make one last comment?
Of course.
If we're gonna proceed not as a 5-lot subdivision, then is there any reason why, I'm wondering about the setback to 31 Prescott for the road, and we heard the resident kind of comment on that. Could the sidewalk and the street be essentially switched so that the roadway would be slightly less? I mean, it would appear that you have more setback to the house that you are building on the A&R lot than to the existing dwelling of the neighbor. And so it might be a little,
No, you want to offset the road. I love offsetting roads. You don't like that typically, but since you brought it up, Dylan, I'll ask that Jeff and I and Joe talk about that. But I would be happy to offset the road. I've done it before,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Just something to consider if that gives that neighbor a little bit of relief from the road.
If I
do
could,
appreciate the
and
concern.
while you bring it up, if I can elaborate a little bit more.
Please.
The sidewalk is shown as on one side. It's going nowhere. There's no sidewalk on West Prescott. I don't think there's any plans, 2029 or 30. If it becomes private, we're gonna possibly request another waiver to have or change the waiver to no sidewalks, just so you know. So that would make it even easier to move it over.
You kind of shot yourself in the foot here in that you've already put a foundation and you can't go to ZBA for relief for maybe a lot line setback on that A&R lot if you were to move the road.
They wouldn't give it to us anyway, but
No.
what I'm saying is we could move the pavement within the road, within that 50-foot, a little bit offset, and it will give a little bit more room to 31.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, that was my last comment.
And maybe just so it's clear for everybody involved in discussing 31, the reason for that zoning violation is, it looks like it was built in 1878 and predated Westford zoning, so
Yeah.
that's how we've ended up in this situation.
I would just add too, to the neighbor's comment about the trash, and Mr. Brems too, so if you are gonna put a pad out there, I would suggest if you could put it on the side of the A&R versus the, 31 West Prescott, that would be.
Well, that's great, but that's where that neighbor is, I think, on that side. So maybe we want to ask her to come up again. She's at 47.
No, I mean, okay, but that's.
I think we probably still need to figure out how to approach the potential zoning issue, though, because that could impact placement.
Yeah. We have ideas, so we'll be talking.
You do.
All right, motion to continue this to our April 6th meeting?
No.
I'm sorry, May 4th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just be clear, that's 7 PM.
John, sorry.
7 PM.
Same room.
Thank you. Yep, we have minutes. Motion to approve the minutes from February 2nd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just trying to pull it up here.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't know that. If you
Let's go into it.
This is, let's see. There's one there, there's one little, thing right here, express concerns, it's on line 166. It says, I express concerns for the building articulation and whether massing could be broken up further and for the parking located between buildings A and B. And I would just add, I suggest that the parking be parallel between parking, buildings A and B, just to kind of conform to the MICMOD. Small detail.
Okay.
And yet important.
Yes.
Anybody else, anything?
No.
All right, we have two motion to approve, subject to the change.
We do have a motion already.
All right, so, that way.
You had discussion on the motion.
Yep.
And so,
Approved based upon the discussion.
sure, that's great.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.